The studio lights glimmered softly across the vast stage of America's Got Talent. The audience buzzed with chatter, clapping now and then as the next act prepared to step forward. The announcer's voice boomed, "Next up, a grandfather and his grandson from the Philippines." A small, frail-looking man in his late 70s walked onto the stage, his hand trembling slightly but firmly clasped around that of a young boy, no older than 12. The contrast between them was striking. The boy's nervous energy, eyes darting to the crowd, and the grandfather's slow, deliberate movements, his gaze calm and steady. The man's silver hair shone under the stage lights, his back slightly bent, but his spirit visibly strong. Simon Cowell leaned forward, curious. "Hello there. What's your name?" The boy's voice quivered. Hello, sir. My name's Miguel, and this is my Lolo. My grandpa, Ernesto." Simon smiled. "And what will you two be doing for us today?" Miguel swallowed hard before answering. "We'll be singing a Filipino song. It's called Anak. It means child. My grandpa taught it to me. It's our favorite." There was a gentle murmur through the audience. Some had heard of the song, a Filipino classic, a ballad of love, mistakes, and redemption between a parent and child. Simon nodded, intrigued. "All right then, take it away." As the soft guitar chords began, Ernesto closed his eyes. Miguel's small voice entered first, pure, unsure at first, then growing steadier. The crowd hushed immediately. When Ernesto joined in, his deep, worn voice blended with his grandson's like wind and ocean. The old man's accent carried warmth and truth. Every syllable carried decades of life. Every note, love and regret. The camera zoomed in on Simon. His expression softened, his eyes glistening. He leaned back, visibly moved. Midway through the song, something magical happened. The boy's voice cracked, nerves, perhaps emotion, and he looked at his grandpa, worried. Without missing a beat, Ernesto placed his wrinkled hand on Miguel's shoulder and nodded. Smiling with pride, Miguel took a breath, steadied himself, and began again. Stronger, clearer, filled with courage. By the time the final line echoed, "Anak, mem Japanahon, nais kong balikan," "My child, there are times I wish to return," the audience was in tears. But behind that perfect performance was a story few knew. Months before, in a small fishing village in the Philippines, Miguel's mother, Ernesto's daughter, had passed away after a long illness. She had been a singer too, performing at local fiestas and teaching Miguel every lullaby she knew. When she died, Ernesto had taken the boy in, though his own body was frail and his means were humble. They lived in a bamboo hut near the sea, earning a living through small fishing trips and selling handmade guitars Ernesto carved by hand. Each night they would sit under the starlit sky, strumming and singing together. Music became their comfort, their prayer. One evening, after watching clips of America's Got Talent on a neighbor's old phone, Miguel said softly, "Lolo, do you think Mom would be proud if we sang on that stage?" Ernesto chuckled. "Ah, hijo, that stage is too big for us old folks, but maybe if we sing she'll hear us, wherever she is." Weeks later, a charity group visiting their province held auditions for international acts. Without telling Ernesto, Miguel signed them up. When they were chosen, Ernesto resisted at first. He didn't want to fly, didn't think anyone would care about two Filipinos singing an old song in a foreign land. But Miguel pleaded, "Please, Lolo, let's sing for Mom." Now, standing before millions, they had done exactly that. When the final note faded, there was silence. That rare kind of silence that exists only when hearts are too full to speak. Then came the standing ovation. The crowd rose, cheering, clapping, many wiping away tears. Sofia Vergara placed a hand over her heart. "Heidi." Klum sniffled softly. Simon Cowell cleared his throat. For once, his usual sharp wit was replaced by something gentler. "I've seen thousands of performances," he said quietly, "but this one reminded me why music matters. It's not about perfect notes. It's about love. And you, sir." He looked at Ernesto. "You reminded us all what love looks like." Miguel blinked rapidly, trying not to cry. Ernesto smiled and nodded, tears slipping down his cheeks. "Thank you, sir. We just wanted to share our song and maybe make our family proud." Simon pressed his golden buzzer. The confetti burst into the air like tiny golden stars raining down. The grandfather instinctively covered his grandson with his arm, laughing, that deep, hearty laugh that comes only from pure joy. Miguel screamed with delight, clutching his grandpa tightly. The audience roared as the two hugged, their small, fragile moment becoming something eternal. Backstage, as the producers congratulated them, Simon walked over quietly. He shook Ernesto's hand and said, "That song. What does it mean exactly?" Ernesto smiled softly. "It means a parent's love for their child. Even when they grow apart, even when life changes, that love never fades." Simon nodded. "My mother used to say something like that," he said quietly, eyes glinting with emotion. "Thank you for reminding me." Weeks later, their audition went viral. Across the world, people shared clips of the performance, writing captions like this: "Restored my faith in humanity, and music has no borders." Filipino communities in America organized watch parties, proud to see a piece of their culture touch so many hearts. But the most beautiful reaction came from one simple message Ernesto received on social media, from a man in Ohio who wrote, "I haven't spoken to my dad in 10 years. After watching you and your grandson, I called him today. Thank you." For Ernesto, that was the true victory. As the competition went on, they performed again, not to win, but to inspire. Miguel's voice grew stronger with each round, while Ernesto's health quietly waned. During rehearsals, he would cough more often, sometimes losing his breath mid-song. But when the lights turned on, he always smiled, saying, "One more time, Hijo, let's sing for her." During the semifinals, something extraordinary happened. Just as they finished their last note, Miguel looked at the judges and said, "This song was for my mom. But now, it's also for my grandpa, because he gave me everything when I had nothing." The camera caught Ernesto's trembling lips as he whispered, "No, Anak, you gave me everything." The crowd erupted again. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. They didn't win the season, but it didn't matter. After the finale, Simon invited them privately to his office. He had arranged something special, a recording session where they could professionally record Anak and release it worldwide, with all proceeds going to a children's charity in the Philippines. When Ernesto heard that, his eyes filled again. "You didn't have to," Simon interrupted. "No, I did, because the world needs more of what you two have." Months later, the song became an online phenomenon, touching millions across languages and borders. It was played at family reunions, weddings, even in classrooms, reminding people everywhere of the simple truth Ernesto had carried all his life: that love, once shared, multiplies endlessly. In their small village back home, Ernesto sat once again under the stars, listening to Miguel sing. The boy's voice floated through the night, strong and sure. Ernesto smiled, his eyes misty but peaceful. "Your mother would be proud," he whispered. And somewhere in the wind, perhaps imagined, perhaps real, came a familiar voice, soft and loving she is. As the night sky shimmered above them, Miguel rested his head on his grandfather's shoulder. They sat in silence, no audience, no lights, just music, memory, and love. Because sometimes the most powerful performances don't happen on the world's biggest stage. They happen in the quiet moments, when one generation teaches another that even in loss, love sings on. And that, in the end, was their greatest standing ovation.